What's going on, guys? If you've been looking for a way to scale your print-on-demand business and you have been dabbling in different things, tonight we want to show you how to scale with partnering. Tonight, Nathaniel's going to be talking about how he traveled pretty much the last 3 years by doing partnership deals and helping other people out in their business. My name is Stephen. My brother that's joining me tonight is Nathaniel. We've created this WingMan University YouTube channel to help you guys in your print-on-demand business learn from our mistakes, learn from our experiences to help you guys go further, faster, and find more success in your own business.
Nice intro. We do want to help you go. Can you hear me?
Sorry, go for it.
Okay, sorry. We do want to help you guys go further, faster, and we think a part of that is learning how to hone your skills and create systems that allow you to operate in your zone of genius or with your skills kind of at maximum capacity. And that's kind of what I dug into last week with my own personal skill set, which is learning how to partner with people and create win-win situations. And I've been able to use the print-on-demand platform to do that specifically with print-on-demand fundraising. So if you want to go back and watch that call last week, we're going to be building on it this week, so I think it kind of makes sense. But we talked about print-on-demand partnerships and print-on-demand fundraising and just got a lot of great feedback on that. But in that show last week, I was talking specifically about a deal that I did for schools and kind of spiritware for those schools and how that opened up a ton of doors for me, actually like 12 of them to be exact. And that experience really just showed me the power of partnering with people with print on demand, and especially around this word of fundraisers, as I've said several times already with this call. But you guys can see, I'm just excited about this. So if you want to see kind of the spark that started all of this, I took over last week's call. You can go check that out as it is sitting there waiting for you. And we're going to keep building on this as time goes forward as well.
Yeah, this channel is dedicated to print on demand. We know that there's a lot of platforms, a lot of products. We just want to help you guys be able to scale your business and be able to add additional income streams with that. So we release videos daily to help you guys, just to help you grow your print-on-demand business. I was going to go a little bit more into like all of our failures, but we have been doing this for a long time, have a lot of experience. I think more than gurus, what we really are just people that have a lot of scars, battle scars, and want to help you guys avoid a lot of the pitfalls as you travel and do your own print-on-demand journey.
Yes. So tonight, like I said, we are going to be continuing on this topic of, let me mute this one. We're going to be continuing on this topic of print-on-demand fundraisers specifically. And so we did a pre-live and I was just talking about, I want to keep this to just 3 tips tonight. Last week, we kind of went just off the cuff as Stephen had the question a week that was just talking about this subject, but I was like, I just want to talk this whole show. And I'm kind of doing the same thing here, but I want to do it with a little bit more structure. So we're going to be sharing 3 tips tonight, things that I just wish I knew when I got started. So they're kind of an extension of last week. Last week was a little bit more of the technical aspects, and this week is going to be maybe one technical aspect, but kind of the overall view of what you're trying to do with print-on-demand fundraising. And just again, me encouraging you guys that you can go out and do this, which I was very excited and very encouraged to see that there were some of you. I think the 3 people reached out to me and said they actually like went out and tried it right after that show. Yeah, which I was super excited about. And I just got to work with them throughout the week as they ran into walls and problems and not knowing the file sizes and all this stuff. So I want to encourage you guys that you can go do this. This is a possible way to create those win-win partnerships around print-on-demand and fundraising. And I want to help you through this entire process. We're talking about exactly how I can help you at the end. But even if it's just sending me a message, an email, whatever, I just want to make sure that you guys have the information to encourage you and give you the confidence to go and try this for yourself, because it is great once you can start seeing the ball start to roll and see like, okay, I did a great job for them. And now they're going to tell all these other organizations that they're partnered with, how we can make this work for all of them as well. So it's just a really cool thing, something that has brought a lot of joy to my life and this business. And so I want to keep sharing on that. But to get to the meat of what we'll be talking about tonight, those 3 tips that I hinted at earlier. I'm going to run through them one by one without telling all 3 of them up front, which is not usually our typical way of doing this, but I think each one is kind of its own talking point. So we'll get to the first one, which is knowing what you want out of the deal. And this probably isn't the best topic or the best title, rather, for this, as even as I said this to Stephen, there was some like discussion of exactly what that meant. But the way that I have viewed the deals that I've structured were kind of with 3 different things in mind that I personally kind of wanted out of the deals. So the first one was experience. When I first started out, I really wanted just the experience of like, how can this work? Is this really what I envision it to be? Can I just have that work experience that will tell me, exactly what problems I'm going to have and how I can solve those problems so I can move forward more confidently. And so the way that I was able to get that experience was partnering with people that I already kind of had a connection with. I touched on this a little bit last week, but I think if you go into a deal knowing that's what you want out of it is experience, then it makes even more sense to partner with someone that you already have some relationship with, because you know there are probably going to be hiccups along the way. There are going to be those walls that you run into, or you're going to ask them for a certain file type, and you're going to get one back, and then it's not going to be quite right, and you have to just do that like back and forth dance till you quite figure it out. So if you know what you want out of this thing is the experience, so you have that confidence to move forward, then working with someone you have a connection through or an organization that you have worked with previously or whatever just helps out a lot. Before I move on to the next thing, though, I want to ask Stephen if you had any other topics to bring up about structuring a deal around experience, as you're much better at kind of understanding what it means to structure a deal than I currently am.
Yeah, we talked about the topic of this. And I don't know if that's the best way to think about it, but I do think if you're going to go into a deal like this and do any kind of partnerships, something that you should be asking yourself is, what do you want out of this deal? And I think most of the time when we're doing deals, especially kind of in the beginning, it's like, oh, all I want is money out of this deal. But sometimes, like you have to build up that experience to know how to communicate to your client, how you should be structuring to things. Where are the pain points? And like you said, passing those files back and forth, there's a lot of nuanced things that you're not going to realize when you first go into it. Getting a few deals under your belt, I think, is the best way to kind of go, okay, now I see my position in the market. I see how I can help these customers. And now I know better how to structure the deal. If I am going to get paid, this is how I should get paid. Should I get paid up front, on the back end, per each individual thing? Should I get on performance based? Should it be on a time based? There's just a lot of deal structuring pieces, but going into it knowing what you want out of the deal is really good. And I think starting the experience piece should be that like driving factor in the beginning. I know you have a few other ones that you want to touch on, but I don't know if it has to be exclusive one or the other, but you should at least think about one over the other and kind of have a driving force when you go, okay, I'm just getting started with this. What do I really need out of this deal? If it's experience, then I'm willing to like bend, make it a break even, or at least like finagle the deal. So at least I'm just getting the experience. I'm willing to take a loss on this, spend a lot of time just to learn the process so that I can add a lot more to this. I see you thinking.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to take you too far off the...
No, it's about this still. As you were saying that, I was thinking about that first deal that I actually talked about last week with the school. The very first shirt that I ever did for them was for free, and I remember asking them specifically because I was like, I knew I wanted the experience and like proof that I had done this. I was like, I'm fine with doing this as for free as long as I get a group picture with everyone wearing that shirt. Yeah, and like if I could have some feedback from them so I could go show future clients. So definitely not the way you want to do every deal, but I think to do the first one or two or several deals just to kind of get that confidence yourself, but also an actual like image or something you can show off to other clients. I mean, like, you know, I supplied this school with spiritware and then you don't have anything to show for it. Like I actually had this picture which showed like I had done this before and brought some like truth or I guess proof to what I was doing for other clients to kind of latch onto. And I know that's important kind of wherever you're going to have that proof that like this thing works. So that was my way of doing it. I was like, I'll forego this, but you guys have to make sure there's a picture that I can show off at the end. You know, you have to wrangle the kids all together, make them smile, but that will help me out a ton. And so I, as you were saying that, I was like, oh yeah, I did do that for the first deal that I ever did. So my deal structuring wasn't as bad as I keep saying it is, but.
Well, I think you thought through the process of like, what is it that I'm ultimately trying to get out of this? If
Right,
I'm trying to build up my resume and my experience, going into it, at least knowing that to start with. It was very interesting too that you had the forward thinking to go, I want a picture. I want to be able to, if people come to me, show that client work and reach out to you, and then you can just give me favorable. And it does help, like what you said, reach out to somebody that you have some past experience with, so you can have those open, honest conversations with and say, hey, I don't fully understand what I'm doing, but I'm willing to do this amount of work. I think it's a solution here. Can we work on this together so that I can get the experience? And then it solves this problem for you. That it's knowing the deal and just kind of what you want out of it, how you're truly helping them. Because I don't think if you were helping them with anything, it would have fallen apart quickly, but you actually provided a service. You just did that service for free because you wanted to learn all the pieces, the intricacies, so that you could do it a lot more as you traveled.
Yeah, and now thinking back about it again, I think that was from doing graphic design so much. Like I had my own graphic design business before any of this, and so that was something that I used there as well. With graphic design, I was like, I'm fine doing this logo for free. The first couple times I did logos, but I was like, as long as I can have a picture of where you guys are using this. So if it's going on a flyer, like I want an actual picture of someone holding the flyer just to show like this is my work and this is the way it's being used. So kind of the same idea that I brought to this fundraiser idea. I was like, I'm fine with doing this, but I need some proof or an image or something of how this actually all played out and went down. So yeah. If, again, we're still on tip number one, but if you're just getting started out and you know that you need experience to feel confident moving on to bigger clients and other organizations, then finding someone that you have a relationship with, even if it's a friend of a friend of a friend, it's still easier to have that conversation and say, you know, this is what I'm trying to do. If you'll be willing to work with me as I kind of figure things out, you know, I won't charge you up front, but I do want to make sure that I have some proof that we did this together and I can show other clients in future. So even telling that first client that will give them the understanding of why you want to do it for free. It's not, hey, I'm going to show up and do this thing for free because I think it's cool. It's, hey, this is why I'm doing this for free. There will be something on the back end that you can help me out with, as well as you can deal structure to make some money on the back end of that as well. So yeah, that's the first one. If you know what you want out of the deal is experience, that's a good way to approach it and just having that mindset. But the second thing that you can get out of a deal, if you have some forethought and are thinking about it, is just the networking opportunities. And this is definitely something I've done, is looking for organizations that I know will have a higher chance of being able to have word of mouth spread of, you know, what a good job I did. And so one way that I have done that is targeted organizations that do events with other organizations. So you can usually pretty easily find this through social media nowadays. They usually like to tag other organizations that they work with, or themselves will be tagged in like larger events that are going on of like how they helped or they provided this service for us or whatever. And so helping one of those organizations, instead of going to like this large event who has all these nonprofits and whatever organizations helping them out, you can just go to one of the smaller organizations that help with that big event and be able to provide them this service. So that way, when it works for them, they can talk about it to all these other people that they are partnered up with. So that's my little insider secret of how, again, I'm not a great salesman, but thinking a little bit how these deals are going to go. You can just use the power of social media, of them having a website, to figure out who they're partnered with and try to get in with everybody in there. Event or their group or their collaboration space or whatever. So that's something you can think about, again, as you're starting out. If you're looking for ways to network and spread the word of what you're capable of doing, look for those large events put on by nonprofits or churches or whatever, because usually that means that they have to get several organizations together to all work together, which means that there are good relationships there. So once you get introduced to one, it kind of spreads and you'll get introduced to several others. So I'm not saying maybe you want to do all these jobs for free. This one definitely charging so they know your price point. But just with that in mind of like, hey, I'd love to help you. And if I help you and you like, this fundraiser and the way everything turned out, if you could tell people who are attached to this event, because I really like that event, or I saw this event and saw how awesome it was, I'd really love to help other organizations that are in this collaboration all be able to use this fundraiser and reach their communities and make more money for the organizations. So just, again, just a slight mindset change. It's not necessarily like this is exactly how to structure the deal, because that's usually a little bit more free flowing, as we like to custom meet their needs and wherever their pain points are, try to support them in those pain points. But that is something that you can be thinking about, kind of the longer term of what this one deal means. It can mean a foot in the door with 12 other schools, like it was for me, or 12 other organizations, as it has been for some of the events that I've helped with. So just that mindset, seeing down the road a little bit more, not so worried about, this is the one deal that I have to get paid for, but like, this is the one deal that I want to work this way so that in future it can help me, figure out these other relationships, hopefully in the same space or collaboration or whatever.
Yeah, another thing I think for the networking piece is finding that point person. We have gone through a lot of nonprofits and kind of have some go-to titles that we ask for. But as you're doing and trying to grow the network, finding those people that are the network people of those events. There's always like one person that stands out that like puts everything together. They know everybody's mother. They're just like, they're very friendly to be around. They're very easy to work with. Like, those are the people that you should be gravitating towards. So even if you're doing one of these larger events, and sometimes communication kind of breaks down a little bit, knowing the person that you can consistently go to and show face to and make sure like, hey, this person, at least I'm following through what I'm trying to do. This person I need to get this file size from. Maybe I can ask this person that is this networking person. Those are really good people to know. So more than like the big events, even if you go and help out just a small local nonprofit, knowing that person that is that, there's got to be a better word for that person. That's a networking person.
Special events coordinator, community outreach. There's a lot of them depending on the type of organization that you're
I guess more than the title, like the person that's actually the friendly go-getting person.
Oh, I see.
Very like connected, looking for that well-connected person that's a little more bubbly. Those are the people that you should be looking for to work with, because it makes your job so much easier, because doing print on demand has a lot of nuanced fashions about it, especially if you're doing all the work yourself, doing the artwork, making sure everything is sized up properly, working with the print on demand companies, having somebody that can at least go out there and kind of spread the word of you and what you're capable of doing. I think that's kind of what happened with you talking to your old coach. They saw how good you are. It was easy for them to spread the word and then get to that person that runs all of the teams. And then it was like an easy sell to them. If you were trying to go cold and sell to that guy, it'd been very difficult, because you had an in, and that person talked you up so well. It was like an easy deal. It was just, can you do this? Yes. Okay, here's the price. And then he didn't even blink an eye. He just was like, okay, this is getting done. This is getting done. This is getting done. Perfect. And then he was like, anytime I have this problem, you're my go-to fix for this problem.
Yeah, almost like a brand ambassador, someone who's willing to just speak about how well you've been able to work with them, or spread the word of what you're doing is definitely extremely helpful. But that's starting to touch on the third thing that I think you can get out of these deals if you focus on this one thing, and that's just getting paid. So that is definitely something that you can want out of a deal. And there's one strategy that I've found has helped me the most for when it's just, okay, I want to go after this organization because I think they meet these checkpoints, and I think that will allow me to have a nice payday at the end of all of this. So the one tip that I have for this is finding the right organization, not trying to squeeze every penny out of working for smaller organizations, as they only have so much budget for probably these type of fundraiser ideas. So one thing you can do to find a nice big organization is looking on their website. A lot of them, if not all of them nowadays, have their staff online, and it will show all the different people, but also the different people's jobs. So as I've been doing this business kind of on the side and by myself a lot of the time, the first couple people that I partnered with, it was like, I have to make the social media posts, and I have to help them craft their email letter, and I have to, on top of doing all these stuff that I have to do as far as like getting their design up there and making sure all that works, just providing these other services that I was happy to do because I had the skills to do them. But as now I'm learning how to partner better and create better deals, definitely looking at their website and looking at the staff that they have. If they have a community outreach person and a social media expert, and someone who's focused on just special events and fundraising, having a bigger team to help you out with this idea, with this fundraiser, definitely helps. And it usually means that they have more of a budget to work with. So If you're looking to get paid, look at the organization size and see how you can help them, and just understand that the more teammates that they have, or more employees rather that they have, the more teammates you will have to help you either push this idea farther or come up with even cool ways to involve the community in this project. It's not just like, hey, we made this thing and pushing it to them, but somehow involving them in the process, which is a win-win for everybody in that situation, because now their community gets to directly influence what they're putting out into the world and how they're doing this fundraiser, which is something we've seen really strengthen the communities that some of these organizations have. It's just a win-win-win, as Michael Scott would say. So, go ahead.
It is interesting that this is still a business model. Like, we're still looking to get paid. So identifying those clienteles that have possibly bigger budgets, so that you can go in and say, okay, I want to be able to get paid this much. I know my worth now. I've networked. I kind of know how to still structure these deals. These are the types of clients that I should be really focusing in on, is a good way of going about it. Like what Nathaniel said, look at their website, see the team that they have. You can kind of gauge the budget that they have. Knowing the nonprofit and kind of, if it's in your local area, you should be able to tell like how big of a nonprofit it is. If it's just a mom and pop stop place, the budget's probably going to be low. It's going to be maybe a little difficult to set a higher price for those people, because you're just going to price yourself out of their budget. But a bigger company that's like, I have all these networks going on, I have these events happening, I need this amount of shirts every so many months or every quarter, like you're going to be able to work with them consistently and get paid consistently.
Yeah. So as we've explained those three, either you can get experience, a network, or getting paid. It's important to remember that you can get all three of those things out of each of these deals, but it's easiest, especially when you're first starting out or you're just young and have trouble thinking about all the possible deal structuring elements, if you just focus on one of those things. So like I said, starting out, I was just focused on getting the experience. Then I kind of moved into networking, where I was like, man, I'm getting pretty good at this. Like, I can kind of foresee some of the problems that are going to come. I start to know that, like, going to that point person and knowing exactly what to ask them. Once I've kind of figured that out, now I want to start networking so I can grow this thing and I can do this with more people. And then realizing, okay, I'm networking a lot, but I'm also stretching myself kind of thin on some of these jobs where I'm like, yes, I can provide this piece, but then they also need help with their social media and even sometimes running those accounts and starting those accounts. And like, it's just going way too much of my time into this thing, because I do want to help them, but it's using too much of my time and distracting me from the other things that I have to do on a daily basis. And so then I kind of transitioned to like, okay, I need to focus on what organizations can create a win-win situation, but allow me to have some of my time back. And that was the bigger organizations that have these team members that could help me out with these certain things. So if they have someone specifically hired for social media, I know that it shouldn't fall on my shoulders to do everything. Maybe creating a graphic here or there, but not doing everything, as far as like thinking about the sales copy and the time that this should be posted and how many times we should post it. Like, they should be able to handle those types of things. So those are kind of those three things that you can focus on, and it definitely helps the deal from the very beginning if you can focus in on one of those, but kind of also see the progression of how those three things work together. So touched on that a little bit last week, but I just wanted to bring some more clarity to that this week. Again, as just a tip that I wish I knew when I first started out, instead of just going out there and like, I'll do anything, I'm just going to say yes because I want to learn. Like, now having this understanding, this bigger picture to look at and be like, oh, okay, like this is kind of the path that I went. I think it was pretty healthy. I could have cut out like some deals here and some deals there that weren't so healthy. But now I can look back and hopefully help you guys understand this as well. And if that's not as clear as you would have liked it, or if you weren't able to follow me through all that, again, I want to say that I want to be your wingman through this whole thing. So, if you're going out and you're having problems structuring the deal or thinking about how this can help this one organization that you do actually have a foot in the door with, like, feel free to email me and we can try to work those things out together. So, but that's just the first tip. So let's move to the second tip, which is I put this in all caps because this is something that came up again this week, and it's the fact that you are not competing with screen printing. So I talked about this again a little bit last week, but this was something that came up multiple times with those people who actually went out and tried this, and they were like, man, I was all excited to help this organization, but they were like, they already have this like slamming screen printing deal, and they weren't able to get past the point that we have to charge, sometimes $12 for just a t-shirt. Like that was completely a no-go for them, and red flags were getting thrown. But it was like, I think it's just the way you presented the opportunity. So the second tip is know that you are not competing with screen printing. You have other benefits, and you can work in junction with screen printing. So I think once you can explain that, and like I said last week, you kind of have to educate some of the clients that you're going out and talking to about how print on demand is different. You're using DTG machines. You're able to have little to no upfront cost, and especially no cost for the products upfront. Once you're able to run down that list of benefits that I gave last week, then you can kind of get to how they can use that as a fundraiser for their organization. And you're not just trying to take business away from the local screen printers, because those are heavily guarded relationships, because most nonprofits and churches and things are printing a ton of shirts. So they love their local screen printer who probably digs them out of a hole when they're like, we have an event in 2 days and we did all these shirts. So you're not trying to encroach on that relationship at all. You're trying to add it to that and bring different benefits to their organization, bring different opportunities. That's the word I'm looking for. Bring different opportunities to their organization for them to monetize what they're doing. So just,
it doesn't
again,
have to
put
be
that in full caps. So you're not competing with screen printers.
It doesn't have to be a or situation where it's like you can either do screen printing or print on demand. There can be a lot of, and this can help your organization. I know you covered that a little bit last week, maybe a bit more in depth about how like you go in and talk to them and just say, hey, this is an addition to this opportunity. You don't have to switch what you're already doing, but it will allow you to reach more of your customers because of the opportunities that are here. Another thing for just deal structuring as a whole, a lot of this doesn't have to be like you only get paid, you only earn, you only do the networking, you only can do print on demand. That's why we really love these deal structuring pieces, because it is a lot of fluidity in creating a lot of this. Nathaniel said it before, I've said it before. And I don't think we've had any deals that have been the same exact back to back, regardless of who we are working with. Even some of the same companies that we've gone back to and we've worked the deal slightly different because they said, oh, okay, for this one, we have a lot of money up front that we're trying to spend, and our budget is this, and we need to spend this before the quarter ends so we can adjust our book. Like there's always a new way to work with somebody. And then they have other deals where they go, hey, the money is not coming in yet, but we can pay you on each individual product. Last time we did this, we sold this many units. You should get paid more, but it's just going to take a little bit longer to do this. So even inside all the deal structuring and networking with people, there are opportunities to create the win-wins for everybody to make them fit. So if you're going into those businesses and they're constantly saying, hey, all we do is screen printing, that's all we're worried about, just have a conversation with them. You might not be able to close that first deal that first time you talk to them. You don't want to get married necessarily on the first date anyway, because it could lead to other problems. But the more community conversations you have with them and then build up that trust with them, there's going to be a pain point where they go, oh, I can't stand when this, or I can't believe we have leftover shirts, or whatever the case may be. That's where you can go and say, hey, is there an opportunity here that I can help you with this? I think that's really what helped Nathaniel close that first deal, was just talking to his old coach and saying, oh, you really don't like to deal with the parents? Here's an opportunity where you can put the ordering on them. That wasn't really the deal that he went in there and tried to set up in the beginning. He just listened, saw the opportunity, was like, oh, okay, this seems like the opportunity. And I don't remember if you went and talked to him once and then you structured the deal right there, but I'm pretty sure it was over time that you did it. But most of our deals don't get signed contracts the first time we meet them. It's a conversation. Then we say, okay, we got to come back to you. Here's some quotes. Here's some examples. Here's some products. Here's what we can do. This is what we think works best. What do you think? It's just an ongoing conversation to find the win-win, to figure out how to work with these clients.
Yeah, like I said, you have to educate these clients. So it's not usually we are just able to sit down even in a 2-hour meeting and be like, okay, we fully educated you guys. You fully understand what's going on here. Like, let's sign this contract right now.
Yeah, because POD is very new, especially to a lot of nonprofits. It's like they don't know anything about it. So just educating them takes time.
Yeah, so the education, but also like kind of the verbiage that you're using, because we've seen it in people's eyes when we go in, especially when I first started, and I'd be like, okay, do you guys have a screen printer? And then they just like gloss over from that point forward because they're like, yes, we have a screen printer. Like, no, we don't want to hear your sales pitch about how you're going to do better screen printing or get us better apparel or whatever. And that's why I said that word fundraiser is a magical word, because a lot of, at least churches, because I've done a lot of church fundraisers, are not like the greatest thing in the world to do. So it's like most fundraisers are like you're doing a garage sale or a car wash or something that involves a lot of time and energy and physical labor from parents to like get their kids to actually do this thing. So when we say we have a fundraiser idea, we'd just like to talk to you about it. That's a much easier conversation than going in the front door and like, hey, we want to help you sell shirts, which is literally something I've done before. And I highly suggest not to do that, because it's just an uphill battle from that point. If you're trying to educate them and you're saying, I want to help you sell t-shirts, like they can't really make the connection. It's hard to do. But if you're saying, hey, I want to present this fundraising idea to you guys, then they're a lot more keen to listening into what exactly that means. And then you can explain things like print on demand. When I go, oh, why can't we just use our screen printer to do this? Like you can, but it involves all these extra steps that we can cut out, and we can do this literally tomorrow whenever we want to switch the flip the switch. So just that verbiage that you use is super important. So that's why I'm kind of hammering this point home and kind of honing on this point for a little bit longer, from last week's call, is just because that verbiage that you're using is so crucial. Even from the moment you step through that door, if you say the wrong thing, you can send them down this path, or they can just see you as another like sales call or cold call or salesman walking in their front door that they just don't have the time to deal with. So saying, hey, I want to present a fundraiser idea to you guys, see if we can make it work for your organization, that usually puts them in the seat of trying to learn or understand what you have going on, rather than just completely trying to give you a very nice way to please leave now. So just some, again, it's something I'm going to hone on, that second tip of you are not competing with screen printing. But
yeah, we had a few questions about like the price points and specific examples. I feel like you gave a few examples there, but price point is something that I think especially you ran into in the beginning when you were trying to work with a lot of these companies. But I think that's when you just started having more conversations and found out where is that pain point. When you helped that very first coach, the price point was a little higher, but then it wasn't on him. It was just on the parents of the people buying that stuff. And beyond just t-shirts, you opened up a whole new line that they were extremely happy about and very willing to pay a lot more for those products. And some of those other products that they were buying had a lot more of a price point for us and for the coach than the t-shirts were offering in the beginning. The t-shirts were almost a way to just like, everybody kind of needs a uniform. This is the uniform that we're using, but parents wanted to buy more and support their kids more. It's the same thing for churches and other nonprofits. T-shirts are very limiting, or just screen printing, I guess, is very limiting. POD opens up a lot of product opportunity. Nathaniel touched on a little bit about the platforms and different opportunities there. And some of the nonprofits that we go into, we talked about last week, is we juice the listing. If we can use your 100 to 200 followers to buy one of these shirts, we can really get this on page one and then get a lot more sales from Amazon. It's just, there are different opportunities. If price point is the thing that you're constantly coming up against, just figure out what are they doing the shirts, what are they using the shirts for, then work with them to find a better solution. It's not, print on demand is not always the best answer. Same thing with screen printing is not always the best answer. Most times when larger companies are doing screen printing, the price is far drastically less because of the quantity that they're ordering. But if you talk to any of those people, they more than likely have a ton of shirts left over. And that's a huge pain point. The person that we talked to down here in Florida, where his father was the largest screen printer in Florida, and the shipping, like logistics, everything was fine. It was the leftover shirts that were driving them crazy, because they would do shirts like crazy because that was his connect. Then they'd have a ton of shirts left over, and then they try to give them away. It was just like a constant problem that they had to deal with. As soon as we could take that off their plate, they were all in on what we had to do, even though we were never going to meet his price point that he could get with his father. It was beyond us, but it just gave them another opportunity to say, okay, we can do half here, and we can reach more with this. And oh, when we go to this event and we have to get them flown in and do all the logistics, we can just have that be on the clientele that we're working with, and then they can get it ordered for their specific event, their sizing, if they want different products. That was another thing, is like, oh, they don't just have to do shirts or tank tops. They can do books. They can do a lot of other products. So the pricing, if you're going in and just going pricing for pricing, it's going to be a hard battle. But if you show the opportunities that POD offers versus screen printers, that's when you can start having more conversations. But again, it's not we're going to tell you this is how you deal with price and this is the only way that you deal with price. It's just going in and having a conversation with them, see what their needs are. And most of the time, that's not just a one-off conversation. Just go in there and say, okay, why is it that you like screen printing? Okay, the price. How many shirts are you actually getting? How many shirts do you actually have coming back? How many shirts do you have in the back? Is it ever a problem? It's just, I think the more of those conversations you have, you can navigate those conversations. I don't know, Nathaniel, was there a point where you were like, oh, I've had X amount of conversations. Now I know how to handle this conversation. I think it's changing all the time anyway, but you just know that, oh, price is not really a factor for us anymore. We've gone through this so many times. We put in the reps to talk to these people where it's like we're just steering in a different direction and going, okay, well, here are other things that we can offer. The plethora of products is normally a big selling point for them to use print on demand.
I think rather than like putting in the reps, and I've walked through this many doors and had this many conversations, it's usually like when something blows up in my face that I learned that lesson, where it's like, oh, okay, like I should just never mention that I'm trying to help them sell shirts, because one, that's not really a benefit that I want to talk about, and two, it puts them in this frame of mind where you know, they're just not paying attention past that point. Like even my own church that I grew up in, that's the way that I presented the idea to them, and I was like, oh yeah, I can help you guys sell shirts, and like we have zero interest in doing that. But once I came back to them and said fundraiser, they were like, oh yeah, this makes a lot more sense now. So it's those conversations that I'm having where like you just see it in the middle of a conversation, someone's eyes gloss over and you're like, okay, I've lost you know, their interest, and I've lost, you know, the ability to try to educate them, to get them back on my side. It's just those like kind of painful conversations that you have, some relationships that you're like, oh, I kind of blew that, but you get to go back with you know, a new way of presenting it, or just go on to the next organization and trying to help them, just reframing some of the words. So it is definitely, it helps just to get out there and kind of get your feet wet, which all of the respect in the world to the people who heard me last week and went out there and tried this. And, you know, some of them are already having success with it and already taking checks from doing this type of thing. So it's exciting to see the possibilities there. As far as like price points go for the actual products, those can be all over the place. But for the spiritware, I mean, they were at $25, and that's kind of what I've learned, that people willing to support an organization and get something from said organization are usually willing to pay a little bit higher of a price. So we don't have to just lowball them at $16 for this thing to try to move it. We can usually say like $25 to $30 even for just a regular t-shirt, because they know that their money is going to support this organization. It's no longer just about the t-shirt, but it's what the t-shirt represents, and you know what that t-shirt represents that they're doing for their community or for that organization. And you know, they can even make it a point, if that organization wants to, like, hey, people who wear this shirt, they get this bonus, or they get to you know, directly impact this part of our organization. So those types of things can really help out. And again, it's all just the communication, thinking outside the box about how you can use print on demand as a fundraiser. It's not just, we want to help you sell shirts. So that's definitely something that I have learned. But all of those tips and all those great things can feel a little bit overwhelming. And so that's why my third tip, if we're ready to move on, is to start small, because this can, again, feel super overwhelming. It can feel like I want to go to this organization and tell them all these fantastic things. We're going to offer all this spiritware, we're going to offer phone cases and mugs and all this great stuff, but you can overwhelm not only the client but yourself with trying to organize like what files go where, how exactly do they want, you know, these 75 products that I picked out to look, all these different things that you can kind of get yourself into a hole with just by understanding the opportunity that exists, but maybe being a little too excited about this opportunity and saying like, I can set up your website. Yeah,
that's gotten us into a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Oh, we can do that, we can do this, we can do a whole bunch of things. And they go, oh my God, we said yes to all of that. We gotta reconsider how we're going about it.
Yes, it can feel very overwhelming. So my third tip for anyone who wants to go out there and do this, again, I am more than happy to be your wingman in this adventure. But the number one thing kind of that I have learned is just to start small. Regardless now of the type of organization that I'm trying to work with, I usually just go with one product. And even if they don't want to do like a full product launch or do a huge push on all their social media, just doing one product product at like one small event can show them how all of this works together, and they can wrap their head around, okay, great, like we just sent them to this link, they purchased, we didn't have to do anything after that point, and we got a paycheck from Nate, at end of the month, which is awesome. Like, let's now scale this thing up. Can we pick more products? Can we do a full website? Can we do this for our largest event of the year that everyone's kind of like counting on something like this to work for? So those conversations are a lot easier to happen, or to have rather, after you've kind of proven how the system works with just one product. So I'm pretty, there's not too many things that I'm unwilling to move or budge on, but that is definitely one of them. I'm like, regardless of how big you guys want to dream, which I'm totally cool with, let's just start with one product, one design, and for one specific group where, if you want to blast that out to everybody, that's kind of on them, like how far they want to push that thing. But I definitely try to limit to just one product. That way we can start small and see how everything works. And if there's any, things that go haywire, we can explain it in a little bit more of a controlled environment than like, hey, we picked the biggest event of the year for you guys to do this on, and for some reason this link wasn't tied in properly, so now we're missing out on all this traffic. Like, those type of things hurt a lot more than they should if you just took your time and started small. So there's a lot of stories and bad feelings coming back, again, just thinking about all the lessons that I've learned over the last 3 years of doing this. But just take that with, my seal of approval that, just telling the client to kind of limit their expectations for this first one, or at least their dreams for this very first launch that you guys are going to do, has never bit me in the back. It's always been a good idea to do that, just limiting it to one product. So something to think about, but definitely, if, again, you're going to go out there and try this thing, try to just do one product, even getting them as samples in hand, which requires a little bit money up front, but that will just allow them to wrap their head around what's actually going on here, and then allow them to dream a little bit more realistically in future, so they can understand all the moving parts. So that is my third tip, the last tip that I have for tonight, which is start small. Stephen, anything I missed out on or that you want to add to that?
No, I think that's that. Starting slow. It might seem counterintuitive, especially if you're like getting revved up and you and this person has a really good connection. You want to start doing something right away. Like, being able to slow things down and make them realistic. Like Nathaniel said, even with our big clients that we're taking on now, we still try to get them one product, one event. Like, start very slow. Let's start building this trust. Let's start building this relationship before we go hog wild and start doing all of these things. We kind of know a little bit more of what we're capable of now. So it's a little easier for us to kind of gauge where these opportunities should go, or how much time, energy, and effort this should take. But starting things slow, even at where we're at, trying to partner with a whole bunch of people, is still a very wise decision. There has been many things that have blown up in our face. I thought you were going to give some more examples to that, but it has hurt us to just get too rambunctious and take on too many projects. I don't want to say any ones that have had a horrible falling out. We haven't had any like terrible things that have blown our face, just things that have taken a lot more time, energy, and effort than we could see were worth it. And I think that's why Nathaniel wants to jump on a lot of calls with people now, is just like to help you avoid a lot of those pitfalls. Start slow, do one thing at a time, make sure that you can accomplish that task, seeing all of the connections back and forth that you have to go. This person needs this logo, this person needs this, they need the certain size, they need it in a certain file type, who needs to talk to who, when does this stuff need to go live, do we meet the deadline, do we miss the deadline? Like, all of that is things that you're going to have to learn while working with somebody. And especially if you don't fully understand like all of different platforms or POD opportunities, you could get yourself into a lot of trouble and missing deadlines, and then making it look really bad on yourself by just a small miscommunication of just knowing, oh, I didn't fully understand how long this was going to take. Even when we were working with Amazon, where it was like, oh, 24 hours, we can get that stuff up, no problem. We ran up to a deadline where it was like, hey, these people are trying to do this fundraiser tomorrow. We should, in theory, if things work correctly, make this work. We can give you the link even before it goes live, because there's normally a process for that. We gave them the link. It never went live. It never got out of the draft stage. I don't remember what they call it now, revision, but it never went live. And then that deal didn't go through. They were understanding and say, oh, it should have been live. We saw it. Then it didn't actually go public. It was just the one link, but you couldn't actually purchase it. it's something on Amazon's end. They understood that and allowed us to continue to work with them. But it was just like, we shouldn't do things in a rush like that. Even if we think, hey, all things look like they'll line up, they could still fall apart just due to unknown circumstances. We haven't had a problem like that since, but it was just, the one time where this thing is down to the wire, it kind of blows up in our face. I see you looking for something, brother.
I'm setting up the next thing that I want to lead into, just finalizing some of the details over there. But yeah, hopefully you guys are encouraged by all this information and not feeling crushed or overwhelmed. Maybe last week was a good place to stop because people were taking action, so we don't want to overburden you guys with information. But just thinking about, again, some of those painful interactions and conversations that I've had, I'm like, let me put a little bit more information out there and encourage you guys, strongly encourage you guys this weekend or this week or moving forward that I want to help you guys with this part of the business. So as we're going to jump into the question of the week here in just a second, I want this question of the week to represent the type of questions that I'm getting asked. So you might feel like, oh, Nate's probably answered this a million times, or he's not going to take the time to help me with this part of the process or whatever. But I am willing to help you guys through this because I believe there's so much power in this type of partnership or this type of fundraising, I should say. So there's, just a strong encouragement that I do want to be here. I do want to help you guys out with that. And so that's what I'm setting up in just a second. We're going to talk about it, a Calendly link for you guys to go to and actually set up time to speak with me. I am going to charge for this time, but I think it's well worth it because what we're trying to teach you guys is incredibly useful, especially if you're a well-networked person, like some of the people that we've been talking to the last couple of weeks. It's really exciting to get to see what this type of business or what type of partnership, what am I looking for? Project. This type of project can bring to certain organizations and for your network. This can really help you grow your network and expand what you're capable of doing and who you're able to help. So it's very exciting. But I did want to jump into a question of the week that I got from someone who messaged me over on Facebook. So let me go ahead and share my screen the right way. Okay, there we go. Sorry. You're right. It is harder when you're not doing this every week. Okay.
All the clickety clack, just moving it around.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes I'm staring off in different directions, trying to figure out where the last thing was. I try to have everything set up in tabs so I can just open up the tabs, but sometimes when the chat pops up or he's trying to do too much.
Right.
But I lost the YouTube feed. It looks like it's still live, but I can't interact with it anymore. I even switched from my
interesting.
personal to the other account, and I lost both.
I will check it as soon as I answer this so we can keep this moving forward. But as you guys have probably read by now, this was the question of the week. Someone who reached out to me and were just excited about this. They heard about this on a Monday. They reached out to someone on Tuesday and actually went and visited them. And then on a Wednesday, they sent me this message where they said, "Hi, Nate, the rescue group visit went great." So it was some type of probably dog shelter or something. They loved the print-on-demand model. However, she, the business owner, just let me know that the only files they have for their logo are JPEG and EPS. So the way that this person who reached out to me was explaining the deal to them is that they could put their logo on t-shirts and they could sell them online. And so she was concerned because of the actual file type. And so she said that I needed a PNG. I have no idea how to convert files, and I'm actually illiterate on anything to do with graphics. When looking at my merch account, it says a PNG is required. So anyone who's been doing print on demand for a while, probably solutions are starting to fly through your head of exactly how this person can pull it off. But again, I'm showing you guys that I am working with people of all different skill sets, right? So we have some people who are working with large national branches of organizations that are trying to do this, and we're working with other people who are just trying to figure out the file. So I'm not making fun of Jan, who sent this to me, but I did want to show off that I'm trying to be here for you guys. I'm trying to be your wingman through this whole process. And on top of that, I wanted to do a little over the shoulder of exactly how I was able to help Jan kind of conquer this problem, because I definitely think other people out there are going to get themselves into the situation where like, okay, great, they agreed to everything, we want to move forward, but now it comes down to like the nitty gritty of print on demand, and we need to know exactly how the files work. So I have two things. Let me actually stop screen sharing for a second so I can pull these up. But I have two websites that I'm going to show off. One of them I hope that you guys have heard of before, because I have talked about it nonstop since I found out about it. But the other one is...
Are you taking guesses?
Yeah, hopefully you guys can guess. But the other one is a website that's going to help you guys convert files without having Photoshop or any other graphic design software that I personally would use. And it's one that I've used in past when in a crunch or telling other people to use, and we've had pretty good success with it. So take that as you will. I'm not supported by them. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. There are other websites out there that do this, but this is just the one I have personally found that it's kind of just straightforward to the point, and that's the reason I like it. So let's go ahead and screen share this now. I don't exactly know how to pronounce the name of this website, so I'm sorry. Zamzar is the way that I say it. If that's wrong, I apologize. But this is the website. So she was asking, how do I take either a JPEG or an EPS file, which the EPS is a higher quality file, just meaning that the actual pixels in that file are going to be of higher resolution. So that's the one I asked her to get from them. And then to use a program like this, Zamzar, which is really just a website, you can add the file here, and then you can pick whatever way you want to convert this. So then she was able to convert this to a PNG, wherever that is on here. But yeah, you can see there's a ton of different formats here. But PNG, I'm probably just skipping over it.
It was the last one on there.
Was it the last one? I know it's here. I've done this before.
I think I just saw it flash again.
PNG. There we go. Oh my gosh. All right. So you add your file here. You select that you want it to be a PNG, which basically means it just has a transparent background. And then you hit convert now. So like I said, it's just the most straightforward way to convert files if you don't have a other piece of software that can help you do that. So once you have that PNG, then you can come to a website like this called SparkMyAdobe. And this is definitely something I've talked a ton about. We have teaching on this. I have a full course teaching you guys how to use this, but I wanted to do a very quick video here just to show you guys exactly how you can take a PNG of any size, because if you're using Merch by Amazon, then you have to have it in their specific size, which is 4,500 by 5,400. So it's not good enough just to have a PNG. You have to have it in the exact sizing that you need. And that's what I wanted to show. Just a very straightforward way to get any PNG in the exact sizing that you need for Merch by Amazon.
So I guess starting with the problem that she had was just getting the correct file type.
Correct.
And do you recommend a certain file type for people when they're doing partnership deals? Is it just PNG? Is that the one that they should be looking for?
PNG is good as far as Merch by Amazon is concerned. If they have like an Adobe Photoshop file or anything like that, you can try Zamzar. I've never actually done that personally, but I'm sure there are websites out there that will take those files and turn them into PNG. And so
that's PNG, one of those, like, depending on the different file types that the people have, if they have it in the pixel format or again, I'm not a big artist, but those are the small nitty gritty things that sometimes can just prevent you from completing the deal, is because of the different file types, like stuff that we overlooked in the beginning. But because you are a graphic designer and you know all about those file types and you have extensive background on graphic design, we never ran into that. But now as we help more people and just going, oh yes, this is probably a bigger problem than we even realize, because most of the time it doesn't matter the file type that we get. You're able to do whatever you need to do with it, but just converting that file, I guess, into a PNG is what you're suggesting. If you're not a graphic designer like me, PNG is the file that you would suggest?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically what it comes down to is just trying to avoid JPEGs, because JPEGs are usually the lowest resolution type of file, and it's hard to remove the background on JPEGs. There are definitely ways you can do it, but if you can get a different file type outside of JPEG, then I would suggest doing that. That's kind of the simpler way to explain everything. So But diving into this Spark website, the simplest way to go from any PNG file to just the exact sizing you'll need for Merch by Amazon is by starting up here in the left-hand corner. And I guess I should say before I start this that one thing I love about Spark is that they're constantly updating. But one thing that can be frustrating for those of us using it can be that they relocate things sometimes. So it might not always be in the left-hand corner that create a project is there. Sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's in other places. But what you're looking for is a way to start a new project, and especially in a custom-sized graphic. So like we've said before, Spark is an amazing tool, but it's not necessarily meant to do print-on-demand things. So they're not going to have, you know, a print-on-demand sizing built in. So we just have to use the custom-sized graphic, which is fine. So once you click on that, it's going to load for a quick second, and it's going to ask you, what size do you actually want this artboard or the file to finish being. And like I said before, it's 4,500 by 5,400, and that is pixels, so PX. Those are not inches. That would be absolutely ginormous. Those are pixels. So like I said, Merch by Amazon is very crucial on the exact sizing. Like even if you're 1 pixel off on accident, they will not allow you to upload your PNG file. So you have to make sure it's exactly 4,500 by 5,400. Then you can click next. And this might take a second or two depending on what's going on in the Spark servers and your own computer, but I tried this a little bit earlier, it took longer than that, so it's good that that's all cleared up. So now we have the artboard in the exact sizing that we need, which is 4,500 by 5,400. It should look a little bit like this, a rectangle that's it's tall and narrow. And the first thing, or the next thing, I always say that, the next thing you want to do when you come to this artboard is
you're your teacher, there's a million number 1 steps, so there's no number 2.
Well, the next thing you want to do is look for this little ad that they put down here in the bottom right-hand corner. So this is them watermarking that you're going to make this thing in Adobe Spark, which is fine if you're just doing a flyer or something where it doesn't matter. But for putting a design on Amazon, they don't want any other branding anywhere, especially something like Adobe Spark. So you're going to go ahead and click on this little watermark down here in the bottom right-hand corner, and it's going to say you can remove the watermark remove once, or you can learn more. Both of these buttons take you to the same exact place, because even if you want to remove it once, they're going to show you why you should update or upgrade your upgrade to a paid monthly plan, which Spark is 100% free, if I haven't mentioned that. And the only reason that you should upgrade to a monthly subscription is if you're trying to use this for a certain brand that you're putting out there for like social media. But for what we're doing for print on demand, this has not been of any use to me, so I still have the free plan. So you can either hit this get started button here, or this little X that they kind of hide up in the right hand corner here, which I usually click on, and that will take not only that little page away, but it will also remove the watermark, so you don't have to worry about that at all, which is great. So now we have the artboard in the exact size that we want it without any other branding on there. So all that's left to do is add our PNG file. So I'm just going to use our logo for this. And the way that I would add that is up here in the top right-hand corner. I just clicked on it, but it's this little add button. And you click on that, and it's going to give you several different options. And the one that you want to select for uploading your own PNG to this file, or to this software, is by pressing this photo button.
I'm going to give you a break, brother. Take a break.
Okay. I know, like flying
Feels
through
like
this.
you need a drink. I know you're looking at the time and trying to burn through this, but if you're enjoying this content, please do us a favor, hit that like button and the subscribe button. Also leave a comment on the video. I see a lot of people in chat. Thank you. I appreciate you. And we are trying to grow this channel, and it really does help us out with the likes and the subscriptions. All right, brother, back to you.
All right, sorry. I will try to slow down a little bit. I've done this so many times, and I get accused of like flying through this stuff. So the whole purpose of this was to slow down. So let me actually slow down. So once you go to the add button up here, you click on photo. You'll go to, you're going to see this pop out on the right-hand side, and you're going to click this upload photo button. And what that's going to do is open your computer's File Explorer. And so what I'm going to do is desktop, because I just clicked and dragged our WingMan logo over there. So identify whatever PNG file that you have that you're wanting to upload to Merch, and you can go ahead and hit open. And it's actually going to ask you 2 questions, which of these are new questions that they ask you, which is nice. But we want to be able to move this around freely. Pinned background is, again, great for if you're making a social media post, but for what we're doing, we want to be able to move it around freely. So we click that. It's going to take a second because this is a fairly large PNG file that I'm uploading, but it is our logo. And what this allows us to do now is we can click on this logo and drag it around wherever we want. So it's great that it brings it in basically dead center into this artboard, or the file of how it's going to look. But for t-shirts, you want to push everything towards the top. If you go in your closet and you look at any t-shirt that you have, I would say 99% of the t-shirts you probably have, most of the logos are near the chest area and not down here on the belly. So that's kind of what we're doing on this document. Not kind of, that's exactly what we're doing on this document, is pushing that logo up towards the chest. So you can push it, I would say as close as you can up here to the top. Maybe not touching, just in case anything weird happens with the file and it wants to cut off some pixels somewhere, but very close up here to the top. So it's going to print nice and big on the chest. So that is actually the shirt that I have on now. This is the exact process I went through. So that it's just funny that I have it on. But once you have the logo in place where you want it, then we can go up here to this download button. Again, on the right-hand side, it's at the very top next to the share button, but it is called the download button. We're going to click on that, and then it's going to ask you what type of
I think you're blocking that, brother, if you want to cut the camera off real quick.
Oh, yep, we can cut our cameras off. Hopefully you guys can see it now. I'll go ahead and wave my mouse over it. It's this download button in the top hand right corner. When you click this, it's going to ask you what type of file do you want to download this as. And we want to keep this as a PNG. This is what Merch by Amazon requires and what several other websites require as well. So we can use this PNG. We're going to hit start download, and it's going to ask us one more question before it gives us our file, which is, do you want it to have a solid color background or a transparent background? And again, for 99% of the time, you're going to want a transparent background PNG. That's kind of the reason we want this as a PNG file in the first place. So clicking this transparent PNG will then begin the download of our PNG in the exact sizing that we need for Merch by Amazon. Did I cover that okay with all of my quick moving explanation at the beginning there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, start our cameras back on. Cut that off. So hopefully, like I said, that was the answer to Jan's question, who sent that this week to me. I'm very proud of her for going out, and even without feeling confident in her graphic design skills, or as she put it, feeling illiterate when it came to these types of things, she was able to go out and do this type of partnership. So again, I just want to show you guys that you can do this with no sales background, just the willingness to go explain this to somebody, hopefully with a little bit more knowledge that we've shed on the situation now. But it's just such a win-win situation for most organizations that they're willing to partner with you, even if you tell them up front, like, this is the first time I'm doing this, so please have some grace with me. But the idea that they can monetize through print on demand and through this fundraiser, grow funds for their cause or whatever they're doing inside their organization, is usually an exciting thing, especially if that means not a lot of legwork on their end, which is what we are providing for them. So this is one step of the process. There's a few more steps in order to get this thing live on Amazon, but that's kind of the most nitty-gritty section that you have to get into, which is the actual files that you need from them if you're going to use their logo, and exactly how that's going to all play out. So that's my attempt at answering that slowly and calmly. But if you need me to explain that personally to you, or if you need to talk about anything else, I am trying to I do want to jump on calls with you guys. So we're going to do a Calendarly link for this week and next week. I'm going to start it there and see how things go. And Stephen had the idea to call it 20 for 20. So I'm going to be charging $20 for 20 minutes for me to explain whatever you need as far as this print-on-demand fundraiser idea goes. Am I still here?
Yeah, you're cutting up a little bit, but you are still
there.
But I just want to point that out. There are those small, I don't want to say barriers, but there are small stumbling blocks in this process, like that, the file size, the different file types, the different platforms that you're on. The different products have different sizings. The different platforms that you're working with have different things that are required to do the uploads. There are a lot of benefits that I don't think other people are talking about, like when we talk about using merch and kind of juicing the listing, making it a public listing versus a private listing. Sometimes working with Amazon, also, if you're doing a logo with a company, you have to actually reach out to Merch by Amazon. There's a lot of back and forth things that just might trip you up in the beginning. Nathaniel, as we've been helping more and more people, we're just trying to find the best way to help more people because there are a lot of one-off problems and we didn't have a great solution for it. Normally for an hour consultation call, I don't know why I stumbled over that. It's normally $200 an hour that we're charging people. It seemed unfair for this person if they just want a change of the art. So we do a lot of that back and forth through Messenger, but sometimes it gets a little hairy. That's why we're like, okay, we can answer those questions on the Monday call. But now that we're getting a lot more questions, this just felt like the fairest way to do this. If you have a question or something that you're stumbling on where you go, this is going to be hard. I don't want to pay for the full hour, but I do kind of just need help with this small piece. Nathaniel is willing to do that 20-minute call for $20. It seems like a very fair trade to be able to work you through any issues or problems that you're having. And it doesn't have to be just a partnership deal. We love partnership deals. We know that there's a lot of nuances to the partnership deals that sometimes you just need a person to talk to, a bouncer idea off of. That's why Nathaniel's offering that. But even your own business, if you're making a listing and you're like, this isn't getting any traction, can you help me place this differently or just talk about the design? That's something else that we want to do a lot more on these calls, is looking at people's listings, look at people's accounts. It's a little hard because I know a lot of people are guarded with a lot of that stuff. So we might just look at the results page and talk about the results page as a whole. We're trying to find a good balance for giving people a little bit more directed advice versus making it like so directed that everybody knows kind of what you're doing and then you bring a lot of copycats. So we've done account audits with people. We're just trying to do a lot more of that publicly. But again, if you have any questions or comments or little things that you're just like, I would love to have Nathaniel's voice on this. He's offering his time, $20 for 20 minutes. Do you have the link? And you're muted, brother, but you did come back.
Yes, I just sent you the link, so if you could post that in chat for me, that would be great.
The chat's down for me, so
I'll
put it in the description after.
Okay, we'll put it in the description. I'll put it in chat in just a second.
Google had to update a guest right as I was going live, so I guess that's a problem.
Yes. There is one question that I wanted to reach out and give an answer for. James was actually asking, how do you set it up so they get their share? And I'm assuming that you're talking about like after you're doing a fundraiser with an organization, especially with Merch by Amazon, how would you set that up to happen? And the way that I've done it, it's not the greatest. I haven't found an automated way for them to just like get their cut every month. But at the end of every month, I look at everyone I've partnered with and I send however we've set it up, the money to those organizations. So sometimes it just has to be a donation that we're doing. Sometimes we send it directly to their bank account, like however they want it. We've just set up our deals to work that way. So knowing that there is always legwork for me at the end of months, usually the way that we've structured our deals, because that is the best solution that we have found, is they are usually a month-long fundraiser that we're doing, or a 2-month or a 3-month long, but it's usually not just a continuously ongoing thing. That way, after a month or 2 months, it can kind of get stale if they're just constantly posting the same shirt or constantly just posting every shirt that they come up with. So we like to give it a time period or only do it around this one event. So even if you guys want to do this, maybe doing it once or twice a year instead of just always available, give some like exclusivity to the deal as well. So that's something to think about. But that is the way that we've structured it ourselves, is usually we're partnering with people with a timeline in mind, so that every month I'm not doing this for 100 organizations that I've partnered with. It's just maybe the 5 to 10 that I've partnered with that month. So something to think about. If you're looking at other platforms, there are more creative ways to do that, especially on Shopify that I'm experimenting with currently. But for Merch by Amazon, that's how I always did it. So just at the end of every month, running that CSV file, seeing exactly how many of their shirts sold, and then doing the math to figure out exactly how much they made you and what you owe them as far as profit sharing and all that goes. So that is our solution for that, but I think that is a good place to end. I realize that we're over an hour, which is very easy for me to do on this topic. So I appreciate you guys sticking around and asking good questions. I'm going to post this link right now in the YouTube chat, but like Steven said, it will also be in the description of this video. If you guys are watching this at a later date, you can still sign up for those. And I'm more than happy to talk about things, whatever topics that you have. Like Steven said, even if it's not just this print-on-demand fundamentals, if you just need an answer to a question, or you hit a wall and you just want a second opinion, I'm more than happy to have that as well, as long as you can indicate that in the little note that it will ask you. It asks you like a little information about yourself. You can just put in there like, hey, I do want to talk about POD fundraising, or I have this other thing. That way I can properly prepare myself for that as well. But I think that is good for this week.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Out of here. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
See you later.
Bye.